What if one of the most important rivers in Britain was also one of the least recognised? Not because it lacked influence, but because its influence was quiet. Because the Trent did not dominate the story of Britain, it sustained it. Welcome to the making of Britain. The River Trent does not begin in dramatic highlands or flow past the largest cities. Instead, it moves through the centre of England, rising in Staffordshire and winding northeast through the Midlands before joining the Humber estuary. Its importance lies in this position. The Trent links inland England to the North Sea, connecting agricultural regions, market towns, and early industrial centres to wider trade networks. It's not a river of extremes, it's a river of connection, shaping a region that sits between the more visible centres of power. From early periods, the Trent served as a route through the landscape. Anglo-Saxon settlements developed along its banks, taking advantage of its navigability and the fertile land surrounding it. The river also marked boundaries. For a time, it formed part of the division between the Danelaw and Anglo-Saxon England, giving it political as well as practical significance. Crossing points became important locations, places where movement could be controlled and trade facilitated. Towns such as Nottingham developed in part because of their position along the river, where routes converged and access could be managed. As you're still walking along with me, can I be cheeky and ask if you'd like to drop me a like? It helps YouTube push the channel to far more viewers. Thanks. Unlike faster or more rugged rivers, the Trent was relatively slow moving and navigable over long distances. This made it particularly useful for transporting bulk goods. By the medieval period, it was already being used to move agricultural produce, timber, and other materials. Grain grown in the Midlands could be loaded onto boats and transported downstream, eventually reaching coastal ports and wider markets. The river functioned as a natural extension of the agricultural economy, allowing surplus to move beyond local consumption. As trade expanded in the early modern period, the Trent became part of a wider system linking inland production to coastal distribution. Goods moved from the Midlands to the Humber and from there to ports such as Hull, connecting to domestic and international markets. This integration mattered. It meant that inland regions were not isolated. They were part of a network able to participate in broader economic activity. The river reduced the cost and difficulty of transport, making trade viable at larger scale. While the Trent is not associated with heavy industry in the same way as the Tyne or Clyde, it played a significant role in supporting industrial development. In places like Stoke-on-Trent, the pottery industry depended on the movement of raw materials such as clay and finished goods such as ceramics. The river, along with connected canals, enabled these materials to be transported efficiently. Similarly, brewing centres such as Burton-upon-Trent relied on the river system to distribute beer across the country. The Trent did not define a single industry. It supported multiple ones, acting as a flexible artery for different types of production. A person standing alongside the Trent in the 18th century would not have seen the intensity of the Tyne or the scale of the Clyde. Instead, they would have seen a steady movement of goods, barges carrying grain, timber, pottery and beer. The activity was constant rather than dramatic. This is part of what makes the Trent distinctive. Its importance lies not in moments of transformation, but in sustained function. It supported everyday economic life, enabling regions to operate efficiently over long periods. At this point, it's worth considering how we measure importance. When a river supports many activities quietly, rather than driving a single dominant industry, does it become less visible in the historical narrative? or is its influence simply harder to recognise? Share your thoughts in the comments, because the Trent challenges the idea that significance must always be obvious. From the 18th century onwards, efforts were made to improve the navigability of the Trent. Locks, weirs and cuts were introduced to manage water levels and make movement more reliable. These changes were part of a broader trend in Britain, where rivers were modified to support growing economic activity. The Trent also became connected to the expanding canal network, linking it to other major waterways. This integration increased its reach, allowing goods to move between different regions more efficiently. The river became part of a larger transport system, combining natural and engineered routes. If you subscribe, there's a whole back catalogue of videos like this for you to enjoy. The arrival of railways in the 19th century altered the role of rivers like the Trent. Rail transport offered greater speed and reliability, reducing dependence on waterways. Trade patterns shifted and the volume of goods moving along the river declined. This did not mean the Trent became irrelevant, but its centrality diminished. It continued to serve local needs, but it was no longer the primary artery it had once been. This change reflects a broader shift in how Britain moved goods and people from water to rail. Today, the Trent remains an important feature of the landscape, but its role has changed. It supports recreation, local transport and environmental systems rather than large-scale commercial trade. The towns and industries it once connected still exist, but they operate within different networks. The river's earlier function is not always visible, but it's embedded in the development of the region. The patterns of settlements, the locations of towns, and the history of industry all reflect the influence of the Trent. If the Trent shows how a river can shape a region through steady, sustained influence rather than dramatic change, what does that suggest about how we understand history? Do we tend to focus on what's most visible and overlook what's most consistent? Because the story of the Trent is not about sudden transformation. It's about continuity and the quiet ways in which a landscape can shape a nation. YouTube has chosen this video especially for you because you've watched this. Watch it next. YouTube and I think you'll enjoy it. If you ding the bell, you'll be notified when episodes are published so you don't miss any. So thanks for walking a little farther down the road to Britain with me. Bye.